Hello, I hope everyone is doing very well. This is an overview of Chapter 8 in your textbook, which deals with appraising and improving performance. And so what I'd like to do is, this is a pretty brief chapter, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of things, and then I'll turn you loose and you'll be able to complete the homework required for this week. So if you would, grab your books and let's start with Chapter 8, beginning on page 362. This is dealing with performance appraisals, and it's defined on page 362, a process by which a supervisor takes a look at a subordinate just to see how they're doing. And a lot of you working have probably gone through some sort of performance appraisal. Unfortunately, what happens oftentimes is that these appraisals are done in such a way that they're not taken seriously or have no value or very little meaning. And so this chapter kind of talks about ways to add value, add meaning to those, so that they are used to improve the employee's performance. So as again, it's defined on page 362. Now if you look, there's purposes on page 363, and there's some additional information on page 365 about how performance appraisals might not be very effective. And this is pretty important. Again, by understanding the items in figure 8.2 on page 365, you can help to create a system or performance appraisals that actually do add meaning and add value to help improve the employee. Again, that was on page 365. On page 366, we begin a discussion about developing an effective appraisal program and how to define various items of that appraisal system on page 368. And then 369 talks a little bit about the law, making sure that you comply with the laws related to appraisal systems. And they're detailed on page 369, but also on page 370. It's very important that you're within the legal arena, the proper area, so that you don't have any questions later on. Page 370 talks about who should appraise performance. There are self-appraisals, managers, supervisors will appraise. And then you also have an interesting system down at the bottom of page 371, 372, where as an employee or subordinate, you evaluate your supervisor. For instance, here at the college, we're given an opportunity as employees to evaluate the president of the college. We can provide input, we answer a few questions, and then the Board of Trustees takes a look at that and uses it as feedback in appraising the president. Continuing on to page 373, 374, talks about even customer appraisals, the customer even evaluating and appraising the employee. And then on page 376, 377 talks about how do you train someone, training appraisers. How do you actually train them to perform the appraisals? On page 379 is real interesting. It's a nice little checklist for performance appraisals. How to go about scheduling, preparing for the review, and also how to conduct the review. So I would take a look at that on page 379. Probably going to see some questions about it from on the test later on. So I would certainly pay attention to page 379, that supervisor's checklist of performance. And then beginning on page 379 at the bottom talks about performance appraisal methods, different types of rating scales, how different selections are chosen, and that's on page 380, 381, 382, 383, 384, 385, and so on. You have quite a few different types of appraisal systems that are talked about in the chapter. And then if you look on page 391, talks a little bit about appraisal interviews, the actual interview or discussion that is had when conducting an appraisal. And there are 3 types of appraisal interviews: the tell and sell, the tell and listen, and the problem solving. Those on page 392. And essentially, these just describe different ways that a supervisor and a subordinate get together to talk about their particular appraisal system. So again, pay attention to that, 391, 392 as well. And then conducting the appraisal interview at the bottom of page 392, 393, some things to avoid, things that you can do to make sure that what you're doing as far as an appraisal is done appropriately and adds value. So pay attention to those as well. And then that should clear up the chapter. So please, if you have any questions, as always, email me or message me through Blackboard, or you can post them on the discussion board. And again, that kind of sums up Chapter 8, Appraising and Improving Performance. Thank you, and have a great day.